via MIT OpenCourseWare. And just so you know, you can, if, for example, you're not able to leave home this summer for any reason, you can go online and craft an online summer program of your own through online classes that are work at your own speed. And in many cases, you can get a certificate. Now, there's sort of two schools of thought about these certificates. Many students like them because it proves that they've taken the class and received the certification, that they've scored a certain grade or above in the course. And you can put together the equivalent of a suite of classes that are complementary. So for example, if you're interested in computer science, you can take a computer science class, you can take a big data class, you can take a stats class, all of which will complement each other, and you can do from home. And in order to get certificates from these, and again, they're all incredibly well-known, legitimate resources. Microsoft also does some of these programs within these educational, we call them MOOCs, they're large online organizational colleges. So many programs can be done online. So please look at the end of our presentation for resources for these online classes. Research work at local colleges, if you're looking into bio, or if you want to be in chemistry, or if you're looking actually into engineering, they really want to see you have what they call demonstrated interest. And so anything that you can do that shows your interest in that specific area is really important to the college, because they would like to see that you're already thinking ahead and saying, okay, I want to be an engineer, and I'm not just going to go to college and say, hey, I want to be an engineer, accept me. Instead, you're going to have summer experience in the area of engineering or computer science. And then when you put your application together, the colleges will look and say, okay, this student has taken the time and the energy to explore this area of interest. And again, you can do this through summer programs at colleges, if those are happening this summer, online, through research, and look into what your country offers or the states offer in terms of high caliber programs, academic programs for strong students. Next slide, please. Summer activity number 2. This is a difficult one. Get a job. Okay. It's very difficult for young people to get jobs in the States, and I'm sure it's the same for you overseas. Some of the common jobs that our students get are camp counselors, babysitter, nanny. Now, many of you who can work helping families out, whether they're relatives or close families, helping them with childcare is something. Don't look at that. Don't overlook that. It's a job. It's a responsibility. Taking care of young people is challenging, and entertaining them, feeding them, helping with, keeping them occupied with educational activities. So if this is something that you feel like you're well suited for, and you have a family who needs some help maybe over the summer, volunteer. And getting a job, maybe you're paid, maybe you're not, but again, it shows that you're productive, and it's an innovative way to create your own job. Fast food, sandwich, yogurt, coffee shops, those are, traditional US jobs. Again, you hear many students working at McDonald's or, many of our fast food organizations. Not necessary, and in some communities there are small local shops that will allow you to help maybe in the back, or maybe with customer service. And what this does is shows schools, if you work with the public, it shows schools that you have the interpersonal skills to communicate with the public. And you have to think what we say, think on your feet, because anytime that you're working with the public, you have no idea who the next person who approaches you is, what they're going to ask you, what their attitude is going to be like, and you have to think and respond immediately. It develops amazing interpersonal skills and what we call soft skills. And these are skills of communication and intuition and basically, when you have to think right away to respond to someone, if you have a grumpy customer or someone who comes in at the last minute and wants to schedule a birthday party right then and there, you have to think and you have to figure it out. So it also fine-tunes your critical thinking skills. So don't look down at any type of job at a food service organization or a yogurt shop. Don't look down on those as menial jobs, because they're not. There's so much more to be gained from them than just the job itself. Another idea, and this is something if you're at home this summer, you can organize an online tutoring service with friends. One of my friend's sons did this when he was a sophomore. He started organizing a math tutoring service, and he ended up going to Duke and earned a great part of his tuition through this tutoring service. So this was not a volunteer tutoring service. He had students, he basically went through his school and friends and gathered students who were really strong in every subject. And over the summer, they offered tutoring for students who were going into either IB, HL, SL, or advanced placement classes, and helped to prepare them for the classes, because it's always better to go into an advanced class with some preparation than going in cold. So this is what he did as a tutor over the summer, and then he ended up continuing it during the school year. So again, these are ideas. This is not by no means a list that is limited to these areas, but these are some ideas that show that you can create your own jobs. And again, colleges want you to show initiative and that you're taking responsibility. Next slide, please. Community service. This is critical, and this is critical in the US. Colleges now, I would say easily 90% of colleges have some sort of question in their application about your community service. Colleges want to know that you as a student are giving back to your community. So we have here, frequently there's a disconnect where high schools will say you need 40 hours of community service over your 4 years in high school to graduate. Well, colleges don't look at it that way. What colleges want to see, as I say in my next statement here, is an ongoing commitment to some type of community service. And your school's graduation requirement is irrelevant to the college. The college wants to see, we've lost our screen. I'll continue though. The college wants to see that you are committed to a service activity and that you're going on a regular basis. What does a regular basis mean? Ideally once a week. So something that students frequently do here in the US is they'll be able to volunteer at residential retirement homes or community centers and go and help either young people with summer activities and volunteering and helping them have fun, or going to places where older people gather, helping them learn how to use a computer, playing chess, playing in the US, bingo is a big game with the older community. So that's something else that it's a really good opportunity for students to do in community service. If you are at home this summer, you can consider a community service website. Look for nonprofits online. There is a website that we include in our resources called volunteermatch.org, and that is one resource for volunteering, but you can also come up with your own resource. So say there's a local school and you may not have, they have no activities over the summer. Well, maybe you want to work with those schools. I know not every community is wealthy. There are some that are more in need, and you can develop an online summer activity with them. And again, organize a syllabus so that you'll know what you're going to teach. And some of it will be fun, some of it will be fun learning. Great show of initiative to colleges. And again, great way to show that you're using your imagination and your critical thinking to come up with an activity. Particularly, again, we're not sure what lays ahead if we're going to be home this summer, if we're going to be restricted to our homes. So any activity that I mentioned, I'm going to include the caveat that if you're at home, this is how you can do it. So talking to your church, temple, area nursing home and food bank, any place of worship typically has childcare opportunities for young people. So when you go to worship, where are the little kids? Are they running around? Is someone taking care of them? Is someone keeping them active? There's another way to volunteer. And that would be whatever your day of worship is, that would be once a week. You'd work as a volunteer on an ongoing basis. So ideally a couple hours every week in that area. And as I said, you can create a service with friends, which would be maybe create something for young children to get ready to go into first grade or kindergarten. I'm not sure what if you use the same terms there as first grade and kindergarten as we do, but anything that you can do to be inventive and imaginative, and then you're going to have to market it, of course. And this is where moms and dads come in very handy. So I hope you're listening, mom and dad, because the best way to market is through word of mouth. And any of these summer activities, parents are a #1 resource for any internships, any shadowing, which we'll go into, networking with friends to gather a small group together, and just use your imagination. But again, make sure you start thinking about it now and you get things organized now, because if you're starting something on your own that's going to be online, you may need to develop a website, you may need to market it. If you can do it in person, you're going to have to find a place to have the children come and have some adult supervision. But that's something also you can do at your place of worship. So use your imagination, and hopefully some of these ideas have stuck with you. And again, just remember, I'm sorry, we hear someone who's not muted. Okay, just remember again, colleges want to see, the key words are ongoing commitment to a specific service. It does not have to be with children. It can be with peers. It can be with older people. It can be in any area, but it should be an ongoing, ideally weekly commitment to a service. Very, very important. Colleges want to know that you're giving back to your community. Okay, next slide, please. Excuse me. Internships and job shadowing. Okay, again, this is, I'm sorry, someone needs to please mute.
Someone long position of the company with assigned task, job shadowing.
Ryan Edwards. Ryan Edwards, please mute. Thank you. Okay, so summer internships and job shadowing. So let me talk to you about the difference between an internship and a job shadow. An internship is typically very well organized, it's structured, it's sponsored by an organization. Chika, I think you'd like to maximize your screen. And you'll go to an internship and have specific tasks that you're doing on a daily basis. And typically it will last over a 4-week or a 6-week period of time. Okay, I'm just waiting till we have better sound. Okay. 4-week or 6-week period of time. Some internships may be 2 weeks. 2 weeks is better than nothing at all. So job shadowing is sort of a passive internship. In a job shadowing situation, you literally follow someone through their job and see what they do. And please, Mona Friha, please. Okay, I'm sorry, the audience, please mute.
Hello.
Mona, please mute.
نعم. I want to ask exactly when this was going to be. بالغلط. يلا سلام.
I'm sorry, we need the audience to please mute their. Okay, thank you very much. So job shadowing is more of a passive style of internship. And the great thing about The great thing, okay, Ryan, excuse me, Ryan, someone named Ryan Edwards is not muted, and I keep hearing you're speaking. Please mute. I'm sorry to call you out personally, but please mute your mic. Thank you. Okay, so a key component of internships and job shadowing, say you're in your second year of high school and you're determined to be a doctor or to be an engineer, and you are so sure that that's what you want to do. And then you do a summer internship and you are miserable. You do not like it at all. You just say, this is not for me. This is not something I want to do. Or you do it and you are filled with joy and you can't wait to go every day and you love it. These are equally important because it's just as important to learn through an internship or job shadowing what you enjoy and may want to major in college as what you do not like. I've had students who have gone to engineering internships, for example, and come out saying, I am not going to be an engineer. There's no way that this is for me. So it's really critical. It also shows colleges what we call demonstrated interest, that you understand your major through hands-on experience. This is particularly relevant for students who are going into engineering, architecture. There are certain majors that are very what I call major-centric, and they want to see that the student has shown demonstrated interest in the major, which I mentioned earlier, that you have actually done some work in this area, whether direct or indirect, so that you understand if you're applying to MIT, for example, we wanted to know that you had some experience in the engineering or STEM fields, because if you didn't, there was no way for us to know that MIT was the school for you because you had never tested it out through other activities. You had never tested our, clear STEM curriculum out. And you may not necessarily be ready for the school. So doing internships and job shadowing shows schools that you're taking the effort to explore your major and to show this what we call demonstrated interest, which is critical. And you'll hear me mention demonstrated interest a number of times. So again, internship, ideally summer long, job shadowing, unstructured. And again, moms and dads, please, please, please help your students with these. They're difficult to get. If you work for large companies, speak with your company. If you speak with your friends and network, this is where students can really use parents' help in getting these internships or job shadows. There are also ways to look online, and anything that I'm discussing now, you should look into this weekend, because summer programs are happening now. Signups are happening now. So it may seem like summer is far away, but it's not. This is the time to be looking into all of these. Okay, next screen, next line, please. Next slide, please. Okay, test prep, gay. Test prep for late summer, fall testing. Now, here's the thing. Test prep is not an standalone summer activity. I have many students who I'll speak with and say, what are you doing? What are your plans this summer? And they say test prep. Well, no, you're not going to spend the entire summer doing test prep. However, if you're taking a standardized test in the late summer or the early fall, the summer is the ideal time to do the test prep. It keeps your brain sharp and ready. And you can either take online test prep programs, books, a prep class. It's the perfect time because you don't have the distraction of homework to do test prep. But I want to clarify, please, test prep is not a standalone activity that should fill your whole summer. It is an activity that you would tack on to other things that you are applying to for the summer. Okay, next slide, please. College visits. Summer, first of all, it's never too early to visit colleges. And colleges, whether they're in the US, whether they're in the UK, whether they're in your country, you can always visit. Colleges have tours going on now. And I can tell you that if you have the opportunity, if people are traveling over the summer, bring the whole family. And everyone who attends, for example, when my daughter, who is older than my son, was looking at colleges, I brought my son, even though he wasn't necessarily interested in the same schools that she was, they both were exposed to a number of colleges. And so it's a great family activity. It's a great family trip. Bring the younger siblings along. And something that you'll hear a lot is that college tours over the summer are not worth it because students are not on campus. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely not true. Many of us cannot get away any other time to tour colleges. Again, whether they're local colleges in your country, whether they're in the UK, other countries, or the US, it takes time to go and take these tours. So frequently the only time we have available is the summer to get away, when students aren't in school, when parents can take some time off of work. So don't worry about an empty college campus. They still have organized tours running all summer long. They typically include an information session, which is about 45 minutes to an hour, where someone from admissions gives a presentation on the school, on what they're looking for, on the highlights of the school. Very, very important that you attend the information session. And then it's followed by typically an hour-long tour led by a student. And that's also critical. So if you do college tours over the summer, please make sure that you attend both the information session and the tour. And when you attend the information session, something critical is try and get the name and email address of the presenter and send them a thank you note. Whether you visit during the school year or during the summer, send them a thank you note saying that you were at their college on June 21st and enjoyed their presentation, and you look forward to applying. Even if you're not going to apply, you look forward to applying to the university in the fall. You get your name there. This is another form of demonstrated interest where colleges see your name. Every time they see your name, many of the smaller universities, they actually track how many interactions you have with them. So tour is interaction. Thank you note, interaction. Sign up on their website, interaction. Those are all other forms of a different type of demonstrated interest. This is demonstrated interest in the college rather than in just a major. So let's talk about what happens if there's no travel. If there's no travel this summer, we include a couple of websites at the end of our presentation. There are many, many forms of virtual college tours. First of all, go to the college's website or the college's YouTube site. Most colleges have their own YouTube channel, and they'll include virtual tours. There's also a company called uvisit.com, and they include fantastic virtual tours of hundreds and hundreds of colleges and universities. And that's at the end of our, it's included at the end of our presentation. So if you can't, and regardless of whether we can't travel because of the coronavirus or whether we can't travel because of time and money, you can still tour colleges online. There are many, many great virtual tours. And I see another resource that was just listed for some great online college tours. And, you know, I suggest that you look at a few because everyone presents college tours differently. So don't just stop at one. And some of them now, it's pretty amazing. Some colleges have used drones and some companies use drones. And so you have an overview of the college from above, which really gives you, it's like looking at a map. It really gives you a sense of how it's laid out. Is the college what I call an enclave college where everything's together? Like the Ivies in the US are all enclaves because when they were built, they were walled in. Some colleges like New York University in New York City sprawls into the city on purpose. They have no border. They've chosen to integrate with the city. So the drone tours show you how a college is set up, whether it has a distinct footprint and identity or whether it blends into the city. And that's important because some students prefer a college that has that identity where you know when you're on campus and you know when you're off campus, whereas other students love the idea of a school that just merges into the city and you become part of the community. And again, see our college visit checklist on the resources page. Okay, next slide, please. Use your imagination. Okay, so this is something that I started in community service and in other activities, to use your imagination to create activities that don't necessarily exist. Why not have a book club with friends? And note that these are activities that apply not just to US colleges, but colleges all over the world want to see that you're being productive and doing something over the summer. So whereas some of this may apply more to US colleges, most of it applies to colleges across the board. They want to see that you're productive. So using your imagination, create a book club, pursue a sport or a hobby on a regular basis. And when I say a hobby, so if you're a photographer, for example, make sure you do it every day. You go out and do photographic outings, and then some colleges will allow you to upload supplemental information with your application, and you can upload your best photographs, and it shows another facet of who you are as a student. So you're not just one-dimensional academic. It shows that you have this creative, imaginative side, and colleges love to see the multifaceted component of students. The other benefit of sports or hobbies on a regular basis is that you're with people. You don't want to spend too much time in solitary activities unless you're limited to that this summer. Schools want to see that you can work as a part of a team with a group, and that you know how to interact with others rather than being what we call in the US sort of the lone wolf who is always on their own. So even if you're restricted to being home this summer, you can still interact with friends online and create interesting activities that are unique. So use your imagination, and trust me, there's no right or wrong in this area, okay? The only thing that is right or wrong, it's right to do something, and it's wrong not to do anything. And last but not least, take some time to have fun. I know the college process can be stressful, can be overwhelming, but you need to recharge your battery and take some time to have fun. Have some family activities, family travel, whatever you do to have fun. But fun and productivity together, please. Next slide, please. Here are some resources that I've mentioned. edX and Coursera are online learning platforms. We have some advice on college visits on our website, on the Princeton Review website. Here are some other campus tours. There are some other, Udemy is another online learning. So continue for some additional summer resources. Next slide, please. And now we're open for questions.
Hi, Ruchika, right? So one question we have received from our student is that what if the student doesn't want to interact with kids? How the student will going to do the community service in that case?
Oh, so the community service included not just interacting with young people, because I know that's not everyone's not up everyone's alley. Not everyone enjoys that. You can interact, as I mentioned, at your place of worship. You can, if there's food service on your day of worship, you can do that. If there's a place where you can help with homeless or with people who are more disadvantaged, you can work with elderly. So working with kids is just one of many, many options, and it's not necessary.
Hi. Hi there, my name is Artana.
Artana, if you can put your question in chat and we would be happy to answer. Everybody can put their
I don't want to. I don't want to ask any question. I just want to request that can we go back to the last slide, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I believe that you'll be sent copies of this, is my understanding. Is this correct?
Yeah. Artana, we are recording this presentation and we will going to share with all our students. So no need to
Okay.
make a note of it or anything. You will get this presentation. Okay.
All right. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. Absolutely.
Another question is that are these activities only for going to US?
No, not at all. I think many colleges around the world, again, want to see that a student does more than just study. They want to see that there's more to you than just academics. So no, this is not just US colleges.
Good afternoon, Julia. I wanted to ask you a question. It's written in the chat, if you can read it. And by the way, I did some internships, which is like close to my major, so I'm going for. If you can read it, thank you.
Okay, that's something that we will get to because we have a list of questions. So as soon as your question comes up, I'll answer it. Okay, in the chat. Okay, Ruchika, you.
Yeah, I guess Julia, rest are already answered within the chat itself. Khalifa was there who was asking for it. So which major you're interested in, Khalifa?
I'm going for economics and political science.
Thank you.
By the way, yeah, I love that subject. Yeah.
Okay,
So Julia, over to you. Yeah.
Both of those are, it sounds like you've already been very involved over the summers. And if you have, what year are you? Are you going into your 11th grade or your 12th grade year? What year are you?
I'm in my 12th grade, and I have done everything. I have finished everything, except I wanted to ask you a question, which is written in the chat, and I would like you to answer the question. I hope it's written. If it's not, I'm gonna retype it again.
Okay, well, we have many questions in the chat, so we'll answer it when we get to it. Okay.
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 Khalifa, can you put your question again in the chat?
So I can look at the chat. Ruchika, would you like me to look at the chat and see the questions?
Yeah, please. I am also looking at to it.
Okay, and I see people commented early on. We apologize for the initial sort of, we were not quite ready initially because I'm in the United States. We have, I think, 4 different countries happening here. And so coordinating our beginning was a little rocky. So I'm hoping that once we got started, that went away and that you're all satisfied and happy with the information that was shared. Okay, so I'm scrolling.
One question is, what is the best or worst college application that you have come across that was accepted?
Oh my goodness. Well, let me put it this way. Because I work with students on their college applications, if I received a terrible application, I made sure that it was not terrible by the time that it was sent in. So I can give you an example. The common application, which is used in the US for colleges, the description of activities is very important on the common application. And one of my, I think, all-time worst entries in activities was swim team, and the description of the activity, the student wrote swim. So that was, needless to say, that was not a great entry. So in my editing, because I edit students' applications, in my editing, I put notes saying, what stroke do you swim? What are your times? You know, do you contribute to team spirit? So taking something, particularly in the activities, taking the activities and expanding them. You only have 150 characters on the Common Application, which is for the US. You only have 150 characters, including spaces for activities. You have to be very, very concise. However, not that concise as just swim. So the best applications that I receive and have worked with, their essays are very personal and reveal who they are while at the same time revealing something key about what they've done in their lives, and ideally focuses, if it has some emphasis on when they were a child, it shifts then to present time. And imagine your college essay as a means of you saying, just introducing yourself to the college admissions person. Those are the best college essays. When I read the essay and I feel like suddenly I know the student. And when I look at the activities and they're concise and they're clear, and I know exactly what the student did in each activity, those are the best applications.
The next one is, will service towards the environment be enough?
Yes, absolutely. And again, I'm sorry I didn't mention service towards the environment. That was an oversight. Service towards the environment is critical. But as I said, with service in general, make sure that you're doing it on a regular basis, that you're doing it ideally weekly for a couple hours a week, rather than once a month or here and there. You want it to be consistent. So yes, service towards the environment absolutely counts as community service.
As an international student, how do we have a resume where it can set us apart?
Well, any resume, international or US, you want to make sure that you focus on you highlight your activities. And first of all, let me clarify, some schools allow you to upload resumes in their applications, others do not. Ideally, you're going to keep it to one page, and you can highlight the advanced courses that you've taken, but you really want to highlight the activities, and you put them in what we call reverse chronological order. So the most recent activity first, going back, and you want to separate them by category. So you want to put school extracurricular activities, internships, community service. You want to make sure you have headings, and that when you put your resume together, this is a great way to check and see if your activities are sufficient. If you put each of these headings and you have something to put under it. If you don't, it's time to start working and be able to fill in that blank.
This I would like to answer. Omar has asked, how can a student find a job at a local place in Kuwait? So I would request you to connect with our Kuwait team, and they will definitely going to help you with this. Coming up to the next question. What is the difference between applications for locals and international students at US schools?
What is the difference? Well, they're the same application. You just declare that you're an international student, and colleges love including the diversity of international students. So what I suggest students do when they're looking at colleges is they look at the percentage of international students on campus. And if it's a high percentage of students from all over the world, you know that that school is international friendly, and that they really want international kids. If it's a very tiny percentage, not so much. They're probably not going to really encourage international students. And that's something you can look at in the data on the college website. But the diversity that international students bring to college campuses is unlike any other. When I was at Cornell, I'm from Hawaii originally, and so when I went to Cornell, I was lost, and I ended up bonding primarily with the international kids, because I may as well have been from another country instead of the US. And colleges love the diversity of ideas, of experiences that international students bring. But definitely look at the percentage on every school. and that will help guide you.
And next one is Ms. Julia has mentioned, when we are restricted to our residential areas during the holidays, what are the other activities or volunteering websites we could participate in online?
Well, because this has come, the potential of you being at home has come up so recently. The academic websites are really the most readily available online. edX, OpenCourseWare, Coursera, Udemy, those are available. I don't know that many other schools, not many other summer programs have yet organized online opportunities for their programs, because this has all come on so quickly. So I suggest that you put together your own sort of summer curriculum using these online courses. And that will be the best way to do it right now. Things may change, but at this point, schools have not yet adopted or adapted any of their summer programs to online.
Also, related to community services, sitting at home, you can start with your own blog. Blog is also a kind of thing wherein you share what you have, your knowledge, your understanding to a particular thing, and you want to share it with the world. So you can start with your own blog, and I mean, there are many other activities which we can discuss later. I'll share the details of ours, wherein you can put your questions and we will give you a detailed information on it.
It's a great idea, blog. So my one note to students who start websites or blogs, they must be perfect. You must make sure that every word is spelled properly, your grammar is correct, everything is perfect, because I've seen many websites that are fantastic, but they're riddled with typos and grammatical errors. So make sure you have someone proofread your site and make sure that it's perfect, because the world will see it.
Next one is, how should I say when we apply in a university that we do sports?
It's listed on the activities. You're allowed to list your top 10 activities on the common application, which is the one that goes to many US schools, and you would include your sports as an activity.
Besides summer camp experience and SAT scores, what else can matter for admissions in US colleges? How important are Olympiad performances and online certificate courses?
So first of all, I'm going to circle back before I answer the Olympiad and online certificate. The number one thing that colleges look at when they look at students' applications is the rigor of your curriculum. Are you challenging yourself to take the most challenging, difficult curriculum possible that your school offers? So number one is rigor. And that's something many of you may be choosing classes for next year. Fill your schedule. In the US, some students do what's called early release, where they're allowed to leave school early, and I can't tell you how many students I've disappointed by telling them that they can't do early release, that they need to fill every single spot in their schedule with a course. If there are courses that apply to your major, for example, again, I bring up engineering because it's very engineering focused. If your school offers pre-engineering classes, take those. So the rigor of your curriculum is the number one thing that schools look at. They want to see that you're pushing yourself as much as possible.
What is the percentage of extracurricular activities that we need while we apply? With the CBSE curriculum, we don't have much time left for extracurricular activities.
So there's no set percentage. However, this is where you need to use your imagination, and I understand that your curriculum is quite rigorous, and this is where online activities can come into play and weekend activities can come into play. I believe that there's always going to be a way. Maybe you won't have as many as other students, and in the common application, there's an area that says if there's anything that you have not included on this application that you'd like to share with us, please do so here, and you're allowed to include explanations of anything. So that's where you would include an explanation saying that your school takes up so much time that there isn't much time available for extracurriculars. However, you have made the most of it and done XYZ, you know, whatever you have done. So there's always going to be time for some extracurriculars.
What activities should I do that differentiate me from other students and made me more appealing to the universities?
Well, everything that we've discussed is an activity worth doing. If you are applying to a very specific program, as I mentioned earlier, you want to try and do an activity that's related to that program. Otherwise, you want to do something that shows initiative, that shows critical thinking, that shows productivity, and that shows schools that you're taking the time and energy to be in your community, to expand your knowledge base over the summer. And, you know, there's not one in particular. Everything that we've discussed is equally important.
Is summer colleges or summer sessions important?
Yes, they're great if you can access them. They're fantastic. And again, if that's something you're looking into, look into it now, because many of them are open now. Some of the applications for some of the very, very elite programs opened in December and closed in January. So not all applications are open, but there are many, many schools offering college courses over the summer. I know Cornell University has a fantastic summer program. So you can look at, I'm going to give you this website and we'll include it in our follow-up, teenlife.com, teen as in teenager, life.com. You can search summer activities. It's a fantastic search engine for summer.
Is it possible to get accepted into a good university like Boston, UCLA as a transfer student with good SAT school internship? Do we have a chance of getting accepted? And what do university wants from transfer students?
They want to see that you've kept, well, it depends on when you're transferring. If you're transferring as a sophomore, in your second year, or if you're transferring in your third year, they want to see that your grades are strong, that you've been involved in your school. And they also always ask on the transfer application, why are you transferring? What does the school that you're attending not provide that makes you want to transfer? And that's a question you have to think about. And it's a very delicate question because you don't want to speak negatively about the school that you're transferring from. You just want to talk about the opportunities that you'd like to get from the school that you're transferring to. If you transfer between your first and second year, they still look at your SAT and ACT scores, so those scores are still very important. However, if you transfer between your second and third year, they only look at your grades. They don't look at your SAT scores anymore.
Including my sports activities and volunteering, could I add other extracurricular activities like I participate in music, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. You know, the more the better, and the more diverse the better. But the activities that I've hit on in this presentation are key. So if you have, sometimes I have students who play 4 sports and don't have enough time to do anything else. That's kind of challenging because unless they're going to be a recruited athlete at a college or university, the sports are taking up too much of their time and keeping them from doing other activities that are related to their area of study. So, you know, anything that I've discussed in this webinar will be key to add to your resume and your activity list.
I'm not good at sports activities. Will it affect my application?
Not at all. Not at all. Colleges do not expect students to be in athletics. If you are an athlete, great. If you're not, that's absolutely fine. As long as, here is my caveat, as long as you are involved in other activities at school. They want to see that you're involved in your school. So it does not have to be through sports at all. you will not be penalized at all if you're not an athlete.
Considering the recent development, are there opportunities for students to do online jobs? If so, what are the resources?
That's a question I think that's premature that I'm not knowledgeable about yet. I think this is still evolving, and probably within the next month to 6 weeks, we'll hear more about what's happening. You can search for online jobs on Indeed.com. You know, there may be existing online jobs, but in terms of jobs that are shifting to online, that's something that will evolve as we know what's happening with the coronavirus.
For engineering student, I can say there is one website which is Upwork, wherein if you want to design an app or something like that, you can bid over there. You can see what all projects are available and see if you can satisfy those projects, and then you can get online job from there as well as a freelancer.
That's fantastic.
I take part in many volunteering activities on a weekly basis provided by my church and other centers. Should I begin on online blog or journal to sort to the documents all these activities and include them in my applications?
Well, it's important. Now is a good time to start actually doing an activity list. It doesn't necessarily have to be a blog, but if one of your activities lends itself to blogging, absolutely. However, it's never too early to start creating activity lists or a preliminary resume so that you organize your activities, including the application asks for the number of weeks per year you spend in the activity and the number of hours per week. Sometimes you'll have to average, but that's something that the earlier you start tracking this information, whether it's on an Excel spreadsheet or on a resume, the better.
As a junior, would filling out college application and resume be important currently?
It's too soon. Creating a resume, you can absolutely start creating a resume. But college applications, it's too early to start completing college applications. That's something you'll start in the summer.
Is it possible that's already came? Besides summer camps and SAT scores, what else can matter for admission into the US colleges as an intern? This is already done.
Yep.
I am not a native speaker in English, but I have a lot of interest in science, like getting a patent and winning a lot of prizes from the government, including Hamdan Award, along with various national awards amounting 50K AED. Also, I am a CEO and founder of a non-profit organization with over 1,000 people, and we work for environment. Will a 1400 be enough to get into Ivy League?
So there's no guarantee in terms of what it takes to get into an Ivy League. A 1400 is a good score, but I would like to see a higher score for an Ivy. It sounds like your extracurriculars are fantastic. However, that's probably on the low end for Ivies. Ideally, you'd like to get into in the high 14s or great 15.
Since you were working as an admission counselor at MIT, why MIT doesn't have summer programs?
Oh, they have many summer programs. If you go on their website, not only do they have MIT summer programs, but they're a wonderful resource for other summer programs.
Which sort of jobs will be identified as a job shadowing, and how do we represent it on our resume?
An example of job shadowing is if you want to be a physician and you can't directly interact with patients, but instead you spend time with the doctor and you go with him or her from patient to patient, room to room, and you sort of, you listen and learn. And that is, an excellent way to learn. And over time, sometimes job shadowing you become more involved than shadowing. Another area of job shadowing, say you want to go into business and you go into a large company, they may have you shadow different people in different departments over the summer. And again, it's more watching rather than doing. And I'm sorry, I think there was a second part to that question. What was that, the second component?
How do we represent it in our resume?
Oh, okay. You list it as an activity and list it as job shadowing and the organization, and you write a brief description.
Should I focus on my academic performance or on my extracurricular activities, which is important to colleges?
You're not going to like this question. I mean, this answer, both. But school comes first. Absolutely, school comes first. However, it can't just be school, because again, the students you're competing against for places in selective universities are both academic and extracurricularly involved. So ideally you have a mix, not just one or the other.
So I believe this has answered the next question as well, wherein it is some universities require SAT and IELTS, and if I get required scores, but the high school percentage may not match the requirement, will there be still chances of getting accepted?
I'm sorry, I didn't really understand that.
They're saying that if the student gets a good SAT and IELTS score, but somehow the high school academics are not up to the mark, so will he hold chances of getting into the universities?
Academics are very important. So colleges look at students' academics, and it's really, really critical to keep your grades up. So it depends on the caliber of college that you're applying to, and when you say your academics are not as high, I can tell you that extracurriculars will never transcend academics. So your academics always have to come first, and you need to make sure that anytime you feel like you're slipping in a class, like you're falling a little bit behind, you get tutoring help immediately to catch up and to keep your grades up.
How to start a blog?
That's something I suggest you go online. You can go on YouTube, has amazing videos on how to do anything. So I would just go to YouTube and search how to start a blog, and there are many, many people who are out there willing to help you go step by step through how to start one. But the key to how to start a blog is deciding what your blog is going to be about. What are you going to focus on?
Could you repeat about the school community service once again? Is it considered?
The school community service, I don't understand.
Yeah, because maybe they're asking about something you mentioned in the presentation.
Okay, let me then sort of guess what you're asking. If your school provides community service opportunities, I mentioned that a school requires a certain number of hours frequently for a student to graduate. Those hours are, yes, they count towards your service. However, my point is you want to go beyond the school requirement. So yes, any community service activities you do with your school do count towards community service.
Okay, everyone, so we are running short with time right now, but it's not like that your questions will not be answered. You can make a note of this email ID, and you can send all your questions to this email ID, and we will be happy to answer these questions. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, GEMS Education. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you so much. We were very blessed with your guidance and wisdom and patience with the counseling, the questions and everything. It was fantastic. So there were a lot of questions and compliments on just your presentation alone. And we're so happy that Score Plus is our partner, and a lot more is on the My Path to Uni website. But this is only the first of many, many webinars scheduled for many Wednesdays. And as our schools go digital, probably through the end of this year, this and other opportunities from Score Plus and Princeton Review will become more valuable. So thank you very much for your time and guidance.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. I'm glad I could help.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm logging out. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too. Stay
Thanks,
safe and
thanks a lot,
healthy.
Julia.
Thank you, Dr. Gistan.
Thank you, Julia.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Ruchika.